Let's do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X, _ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening on that Indie Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. No matter how you are tuned in, it is greatly appreciated. We've got Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports. He's going to join us here in about 20 minutes, and we're going to talk about the future of college football, the 24-team playoff that is in the very, very near future. And it just confirms that college athletics just get dumber by the day. The American Football Coaches Association voted in favor of a couple of changes to college football. They voted in favor of expanding the playoff to 24 teams, ending the playoff before the second weekend in January, and eliminating conference championship games. Ending the playoff before the second weekend in January, fan of that. I think that's smart. Eliminating conference championships, I don't like, because it should mean something to win your conference. That should be something that you can hang your hat on. But that won't be the case anymore. And with that being said, though, if you're going to expand the college football playoff to 24 teams and end it by the second weekend in January, then it makes sense to cut out those conference title games. What doesn't make any sense, though, is expanding that college football playoff to 24 teams. It's incredibly idiotic. You have to have something that separates you from the other professional sports leagues. College basketball has March Madness. That is what makes college basketball special. Okay, that is the thing that separates it from the NBA. Right? College football had something that separated it from everybody else. Their regular season. But they are on the verge of punting on that advantage. In the NFL, regular season doesn't really matter. You can go 9-8 and make the playoffs. You can go 8-9 and make the playoffs like the Carolina Panthers did last year. That's insane. Everyone knows that it is. And no one liked it last year except for Panther fans. The beauty of college football used to be that you had to virtually be perfect for a chance to make the college football playoff. Anything worse than 11-1, and you were probably on the outside looking in. Then, the NCAA expanded the college football playoff to 12 teams. Now, if you go 9-3, then you were on the brink of not making the playoff. But if you're from a Power 4 school and you go 10-2, round of applause for you. You're in the playoff. Okay? And it's led to teams being incentivized to play softer schedules. It's why Notre Dame's schedule looks like an 8-year-old's birthday party. They're going to crush all these cupcakes, finish in the top 12, and be a lock for the college football playoff. And people are going to, hammer on Notre Dame for that, but it's smart. That's what they should do. But that's not the best thing for the sport. College football's regular season used to be sacred. Week 8 of the regular season was sometimes bigger than the college football playoff, because if you lost that one important conference game, then you would be out of the playoff. Every week was a playoff game. It was beautiful. That was the thing that made college football unique from the NFL. It's what made it special compared to all of the other sports that we watch here in America. And when they expand to a 24-team playoff, the regular season isn't going to mean anything. College football used to be this 5-star reservation-only steakhouse, like Burns in Tampa, Florida. Really, really cool place. You had to dress up. You had to be perfect, and the stakes were high. But now the AFCA wants to turn it into an all-you-can-eat Golden Corral. Sure, there's more food, but it's mostly like lukewarm mystery meat and soggy rolls. We're not getting more quality. We're just getting more indigestion. Who wants that? Not me. Ohio State and Michigan is like, it's just another rivalry game now. when they go to 24 teams. It won't be a game with any greater stakes, like a playoff spot. Texas versus Oklahoma is going to regress to like a cool, neutral site game. No playoff stakes. You can lose to multiple good teams and make the college football playoff. You don't even have to be good to play in the college football playoff when they go to 24 teams. The regular season used to be the movie. It was the main event. Every scene mattered. Every plot twist was vital. But now, with 24 teams, the regular season is just going to be like a 3-month-long trailer. Why am I sitting through the whole film in October if I already know the ending? It's just everyone qualifying for the sequel anyway. You're asking us to buy a ticket for a game that has the emotional weight of a preseason scrimmage. 8-4 Iowa would have gotten into the playoff last year. They went 6-3 in the Big Ten. Wouldn't call that a resume of a team that should get the opportunity to compete for a championship. USC and Michigan, two greatly flawed teams, would have had the opportunity to compete for a championship, going 9-3, losing to every good team that they played. Let's just be really honest about the 12-team playoff last year. Teams like Alabama, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma, Tulane, and James Madison, so almost half of the field, proved to be nowhere close to good enough to compete for the national title. Now they're going to double the size of the playoff field. College football should be looking to reduce the number of teams in the college football playoff, not expanding it. Now, if you're an average like 8-4 SEC or Big Ten school, congratulations, you're going to make the college football playoff. The importance of the regular season is completely gone. The thing that made college football unique, gone. Also, because I know that I'm going to hear this argument, and I hate it. I think it's one of the dumbest arguments that you can make. This is not college basketball. For those of you out there who think that we're going to start having upsets and underdogs winning college football games, it's not going to happen. This is not going to turn into March Madness where we have all of these upsets. Okay, even before the introduction of NIL, when talent, wasn't as cooped up as it is now, you didn't get very many upsets in football. But with the introduction of NIL, the best teams in the country are head and shoulders better than everybody else. All that we're going to get by expanding this college football playoff is more blowouts and more injuries. That's all we're signing up for with the expansion of the college football playoff from 12 to 24 teams. This is a bad idea, but it generates more revenue. So teams like Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia can continue to outbid all the other schools for the best players. Okay? This is a lie. March Madness works because one guy can get hot from three and sink a giant. In football, you can't out-scheme a roster that costs $20 million more than yours. We saw this a couple of years ago. Indiana makes the college football playoff. Everyone's excited. Kurt Signetti has burst onto the scene. And they go on the road to South Bend, and they play Notre Dame. And Notre Dame ran them out of the building. And it wasn't surprising because Notre Dame had spent more money on their roster, and they were more talented than Indiana. And even though Indiana was probably the best coach team in college football that year, didn't matter. They just didn't have the horses. Expanding the playoff is not opening the door for the little guy. It's just giving the bullies more opportunities to stuff the nerds into lockers. Okay, this is not an underdog story. It's a sanctioned beatdown. Again, this is an idiotic idea. Chris, would you like to take a guess at the average margin of victory in college football playoff games when there were only 4 teams in the playoff?
I'd say a couple touchdowns.
18.
Yeah.
A 3-possession game. With the 4 best teams in the country. Now you're going to put in 24? It's just a bad idea. I can't.
Do you think the whole thing with Notre Dame had something to do with that?
What
Like
do you mean?
not accepting a bowl thing and falling
That's
short and all that?
that's why they're doing it. The bowl games don't mean anything. People are just, show like that's why they're doing it. It's because bowl games don't matter. Like you said, Notre Dame opted out of the Pop-Tart Bowl, losers. And whenever you do watch bowl games now, no one really plays. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, all the better players that are going to go on to play in the NFL, they don't want to get hurt. And it makes sense. Like, it's an exhibition game. That's really all that it is. So I don't blame them for that. And coaches don't want their players to play. Because let's say you've got a freshman wide receiver who at the start of the year wasn't good enough to play, but now after 4 months worth of practice and those things, all of a sudden he's really good now, and you're excited to watch him play for you next year. But you play in this bowl game, and he has 7 receptions for 130 yards. See you, coach. Let me hit the portal real quick. Let me go grab a bag. So I not a fan of it at all. Ross with a great question. What's worse, 24 in football or 76 in basketball? Oh, man, that's a great question. Probably 24 in football, because with basketball, like, they're playing to get into the 64-team tournament, whereas with 24 in football, like, you're rolling. And I know that they're going to do some various like buys. Like, I think like the top 8 seeds are going to get buys, and it's going to get really complicated. And your granddad's going to call and ask you what's going on, and you're going to try to explain it to him, and it's just going to make him more confused. So not a fan of that. But I would say 24 in football, just because the gap is so much larger. Because again, the 76th team, let's take it Indiana last year, okay? Or Texas. Okay, Texas was one of the last 4 in, and they made a run to the Sweet 16. Had a real chance to make it to the Elite 8. If Tremont Marks doesn't get hurt, Texas probably beats Purdue. But the reason why that is because, like, it's basketball. You just need 1 or 2 guys, to get hot for a few weekends, and all of a sudden, you're great. Whereas with college football, like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you don't get hot because it's such a physical game. It's the reality of it. And yeah, so we are in the NIL and expansion era of college sports, and I don't like half of it. So what about you, Chris? What do you think's worse, the 12-team college football 24-team college football playoff or 76-team NCAA tournament? Or do you like both?
They're both pretty ridiculous. I mean, I like the general idea of adding more teams, but not in that fashion. Maybe like a tournament before the tournament type thing, instead of letting everybody get that fair chance, I guess, if that makes sense. But the football thing seems a little much.
It is. And again, I get it. It's because the bowl games don't mean anything anymore and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, at some point, like, you got to put a cap on it.
Right. And to be fair, they do already have the tournament. They have the conference tournaments, Big Ten tournament, yada, yada, whatever. You win your conference, you get a seed or whatever. But, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I don't like getting rid of conference championship games either in college football, because that's something that I look forward to at least. It's fun watching Georgia play Alabama in the SEC championship game. Ohio State and Indiana, that was the best game of the college football season last year.
Yeah.
And you're just completely doing away with that. And I don't know. I mean, again, I get it. I just don't like it. We're going to have Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS Sports. Does a great job covering college football. He is joining the show here in about 4 minutes or so. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we're playing trivia for even more tickets to Holiday World. Today being Wednesday, it is Mike Woodson theme, so make sure you call in at 2 o'clock for your chance to win a couple of tickets to Holiday World. If you want to look and feel your best this summer, Indiana Medical Center is your solution. They are a leading medical spa offering transformative, non-surgical treatments. This Friday at 9 a.m., go to indiesportsticket.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab to get any body sculpting, skin tightening, or facial rejuvenation, a $399 treatment for only $149.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to, especially when we have great guests on like Shehan Jeyarajah, one of my favorite college football writers out there. You can read his stuff at cbssports.com. Shehan, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Dude, absolutely. When the AFCA voted last night to potentially expand the college football playoff to 24 teams, I was like, there's one guy that I want to talk to about it. And it was you. So thanks for making the time. I'm not surprised by it. When the news broke, though, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, look, there are obviously many different stakeholders involved in this decision, right? And the AFCA is the coach's voice, and the coaches are endorsing a 2014 playoff. And to me, it's not necessarily surprising, right? Because that makes it easier for them to make the playoff, frankly. A lot of them have stipulations in their contract where they get bonuses or whatever if they make a playoff appearance. And I'll tell you what, those became a whole lot more valuable now that we've moved from 4 to 12. And if we were to move to 24, if the playoff were to decide that, then you know what, that would make it even easier for them. They also, by the way, endorse the idea of the season ending by the second week of January. Well, I'll tell you what, doubling the size of the playoff and wanting the season to be shorter are two things that are dramatically at odds with each other, right? And I think that obviously it's good to have the voice of coaches in this, but the decision to move from 12 to 24 or to 16 will ultimately be made by the College Football Playoff Management Committee. And at this point, there's been no movement on that.
Okay, that is good to hear, because when I read it, I was just like, golly, because I don't want it to happen. Like we saw, like I don't need to see Iowa for a 13th time. Like I'm good. I don't think, I don't think USC or Michigan was one game away from like figuring it out last year. So that is nice to hear that this isn't an official thing, but it does feel like we're kind of heading in that direction in general. And I just, the one positive part about it, because I feel like I've been pretty negative about it, bowl games don't really mean anything anymore. I feel like none of the better players play. I feel like coaches kind of don't like playing in them, because if you've got like a freshman receiver that you know is going to be really good next year, you don't want him to go crazy and then have him transfer. So what are the positives of the expansion that seems like is going to happen here at some point?
Yeah, and I mean, look, I will push back a little on the bowl games thing, right? I think that we focus so much on the very top of the sport that we miss some of the stuff that happens underneath, right? Like for a lot of programs, making a bowl game is a big deal. Playing in a bowl game is a big deal, especially at the Group of 6 level. And these games, by the way, still rate very well. They get 2 million, 3 million viewers pretty regularly. So I don't think that bowls in themselves are going all the way away. Look, if we move to 24, I think that there's a couple pieces of this, right? Hopefully, one, we get a little bit more kind of, I guess, objective criteria that helps teams get in, right? I think that the more subjective that it is, the more chaos that we have. I even think just moving to 12 teams has made this a little bit of a better process from that perspective than 4. I mean, you talk about the conversations that we've had the past 2 years. It's been about an Alabama team that frankly sucked in 2024 and in 2025. Like I feel bad for Notre Dame, but like they lost to Miami. They should, Miami deserved to be in over Notre Dame. And so like I think that the conversations have ultimately been relatively better even moving to 12. I think that when we get to 24 again, people aren't going to care about the bubble the same way when it's picking between Iowa and Houston, right? There's pros and cons to that, but it generally means that the teams that deserve to get in. I will say though, I think that 16 makes sense to me. I think 24 doesn't make sense to me. 16, I think that then you'd have one full round of playoff. You wouldn't have buys the same way, which I think that buys have ended up being not as positive as certainly I hoped whenever they were instituted. I think that the long layoff is a big part of that, but still, 24, like you're talking about having a whole round of 8 games, having, 8 teams sit out of that, then have a whole nother round of 8 additional games. You start just running into questions about trying to schedule all of those games, especially, by the way, when the NFL is sitting right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm a big fan of exclusivity, and so I would prefer 16 over 24 just because the less teams you have, theoretically, the higher the level of play is going to be. I think that's a great point on the scheduling as well, especially if they're wanting to end the season by the second week in January. And sadly, one of the repercussions of that, again, joined by Shehan Jeyarajah, who does a great job covering college football at CBSSports.com, one of the repercussions of that is getting rid of conference championship games. And I don't want to do the survey of one thing, but I thought that the best college football game played last year was between Ohio State and Indiana in the Big Ten title game. What do you make of the potential cutting of these conference championship games?
It's interesting. I love conference championship games. I love conference championships in general. I think that to me, they're like the purest form of the sport. I actually don't think it's the playoff that's killing them. I think it's mega conferences. Like there is no good way to select the top 2 teams in a conference to play against each other when you have leagues that are 18 teams. Now, the Big 12 and Big 10, like you mentioned, were pretty lucky that things worked out well and their top two teams really did play. In the SEC, you had Alabama last year. Alabama was maybe the fourth or fifth best team in the SEC playing against Georgia. And obviously in the ACC, we had a real chaotic situation where Virginia didn't play against Miami. They played against Duke in the title game, and Duke ultimately gets left out as a conference champion from the entire college football playoff. So, like, there's just not a great way to pick the top two teams. It's always going to come down to tiebreakers. Now, I do think that it's no coincidence that the two leagues that got it best were the teams that had 9 conference games instead of 8. I mean, when you have 8, like, you're talking about 6 or 7 teams potentially that could finish at 6-2 in conference play. It'll be a little better with those leagues moving to 9 conference games, but I think that that's the real driver of these games being less valuable. Isn't necessarily that the playoff is going to take their place. It's that you really have no clear pathway to actually pick the best 2 teams in a conference.
That is an excellent point, and that's why we have you on. I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking about all the great Georgia-Alabama games from years prior, and again, Ohio State and Indiana last year. But even when you go back 2 years ago to Indiana and Ohio State, when Indiana, I think we can all say it now because they won the national title last year. 2 years ago, they benefited from a pretty soft schedule. And so I think that is an excellent point as well. I want to shift gears here a little bit here. I want to talk about the Brendan Sorsby situation out at Texas Tech. The sports gambling thing is just, it's making sports a lot more interesting. You know, you had all the issues in the NBA with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. Now it's in college football. How does this impact the Big 12 and Texas Tech, a team that really went all in terms of how much they were forking out for all these different players? How does this impact the outlook of the Big 12?
Yeah, I think that for Texas Tech, it's not going to affect the floor as much as people think, but I think it's really going to impact the ceiling. And what I mean by that is, first of all, you talked about the idea of having disparate schedules. Well, Texas Tech doesn't get either of the Utah schools this year. They have one of the easier schedules in the Big 12. So I think that this is a team that even on the low end should still expect to win 10 games and probably be in the Big 12 title game. But I think that while they may be able to replicate some of what they did last season, without Brendan Sorsby in the lineup, I don't see a great pathway to them building on it. And what I mean by that is, right, last year, of course, they had a quarterback in the college football playoff in Baron Morton who was playing on a broken leg. And he looked like it in that game against Oregon. They got after him, and he was not able to be mobile enough to plant his legs and keep the ball moving downfield. Well, Brendan Sorsby was brought in to fix some of that, right? And he's an exciting player, somebody who I think is going to be an NFL quarterback, number 2 overall transfer in the class. He was the type of player who I think could have really added that dimension and level to this Texas Tech offense. With him out, I just don't think that Texas Tech is likely to be able to win a playoff game. Now, again, all this is matchup dependent. And I will say, too, they have a quarterback that they really like named Will Hammond, who actually, if he doesn't tear his ACL last year, I don't think that Texas Tech spends $5 million on a quarterback. I think maybe they bring in some competition for him, but I don't think that they outright go and find a starting quarterback. But he isn't necessarily going to be ready for week 1. He's kind of expected back, at least last we heard, by about week 3. If he can get fully healthy and take a step as a full-time starter by the time we get to December, that's the thing that maybe has a chance to change the outlook overall.
Joined by Shehan Jeyarajah, who does a great job covering college football over at CBSSports.com. Will Hammond played last year and looked really good. I remember you wrote an article last year kind of talking about his background. He's a Texas kid, winds up at Texas Tech. And as you said, like, he looked really good in the games he played, except for the Arizona State game. That wasn't great, but it happens. So you mentioned the Utah schools when talking about Texas Tech's schedule. And I think we've kind of reached a point in college football where it looks a lot like the NFL. The two most impactful things are who is your quarterback and who's your head coach. I think when it comes to the Big Ten, everyone is very focused on Ohio State and Indiana for very obvious reasons. But Kyle Whittingham is at Michigan now. I think he's one of the better coaches in college football. How does his presence at Michigan change how you look at kind of the top of the Big Ten?
I mean, I think it's huge, right? Like, this is a team that's recruited well over the past couple of years. You look at what they did in the transfer portal this year, even just bringing over guys from Utah and BYU, by the way. Like, they brought in some really good pieces. John Henry Daly, I think, has a chance to be one of the best edge rushers in the Big Ten this year. He was among the national leaders in sacks before he got hurt last year. I also think that an underrated addition is their offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, coming from Utah. This is a guy who was the mastermind of that New Mexico offense of 2 years ago with Devin Dampier that got them back to bowl eligibility. And ultimately, both of those guys, of course, land at Utah. At Utah last year, he did a really good job with one of the best offensive lines in college football. But Dampier was a 3,000 total yards player. They were a much improved offense. And now I think that Bryce Underwood, I think, will really thrive in this offense. I think that you saw at times last year, they wanted him to be very pro style. And look, they're going to develop him as an NFL prospect and quarterback for sure. But I think that they're going to be able to use movement and misdirection in a different kind of way. So I think that it's a tremendous fit. I said it at the time, right? Like, Kyle Whittingham is a short-term hire. He probably won't still be here after 3 years, but I think these 3 years could be pretty fascinating at the University of Michigan.
They could be. And I'm really excited for it. Because the Big Ten the past couple of years has kind of felt like a two-horse race a little bit. And so getting Michigan in the fold, USC bringing in the number one recruiting class in the country. I know freshmen don't exactly win in college football right now, but their future looks bright. And last thing for you here, Shehan, and I'll let you go. So you're in Dallas, TCU, not too far away from you. I think Indiana fans are very intrigued by Josh Hoover, the new quarterback here. What is he going to bring to this Indiana offense that is perhaps a little bit different than what Mendoza brought when they brought him in from Cal?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to cover a lot of Josh Hoover games in my life, even dating back to his time in Rockwall, Texas. And, he's a dynamic player. I remember talking to Sonny Dykes about him last year. And the thing about it is, and you actually, this is kind of a similar comp to Mendoza, but he's just one of those players who doesn't blow you off the page with any one thing. But the way that Sonny Dykes described it is football is a game about putting the ball in the right place at the right time. And Josh Hoover just does that, right? He's done it at a very high level for the past 2 years, been one of the most productive quarterbacks in college football. And I think that he has the opportunity to take a huge step at Indiana. The big thing that he struggled with a little bit was turnovers during his time at TCU, but a big part of that is because so much was put on his shoulders. He was asked to go out and win games with a running game that frankly was pretty brutal his last 2 years at TCU. And I think that at Indiana, where you're able to have more of a balanced offense, where you're able to run more of a real play action game, I think that he's going to have a chance to be really good. So physically gives you everything that you want, has a big arm, can get the ball exactly where he needs it to be, very, very accurate, good decision maker. And again, if he can clean up those turnovers, I mean, he can be one of the top couple of quarterbacks in the country.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the turnover issue. It's like when you're being asked to do everything for your offense, you're going to take more risks. That's something that Mendoza didn't really have to do a lot of last year because of the way that Indiana was able to run the ball. Shehan, thank you so much for your time, man. Do you have any articles or anything coming out here soon?
Yeah, just put together an article, I think, in the last week on how small college coaches are being impacted by NIL and transfer portal, especially when you look at them in the context of the NFL draft. I'll have a bunch more coming out in the next couple of weeks, and make sure and keep your eyes peeled to cbssports.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. That is Shehan Jeyarajah. You can read him over at cbssports.com. Does a great job covering college football. He's a great follow on Twitter as well if you're more of a micro blog reader kind of person. So big thanks to him for coming on and talking a little bit about college football playoff expansion and, the Big Ten and, your new Indiana quarterback, Josh Hoover. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here. The lottery is on Sunday, and there's a lot of focus on, Pacers top 4 pick. What's that going to mean? Who are they going to take? There is like a 48% chance, though, that they don't land that top 4 pick. What is the plan if that happens? We'll talk about that in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. Head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X, __ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. Big thanks to Shehan Jeyarajah for joining me in that last segment to talk a little bit about the future of college football. I want to take a couple minutes here now to talk about the future of the Indiana Pacers, because their future going to be greatly impacted on Sunday. It's going to impact their offseason, how they go about free agency. Obviously, they want a top 4 pick. That is the desired result here. Go get A.J. DeBonsa. Go get, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, whoever it is, okay? Don't care. But a top 4 pick is obviously the desired outcome, because you don't get that very often, especially with the draft like this. So, what happens if they don't land a top 4 pick? How does this shift? So, the NBA Draft Lottery, it's on Sunday. Pacers fans are growing more and more anxious by the day. There's a 52% chance that they keep their pick. There's a 48% chance that pick winds up with the Clippers. Either way, the Pacers are going to have an opportunity to improve the team. Obviously, a top 4 pick would allow them to do that, but if they don't, then free agency is going to be the avenue they have to make this team a title contender. Okay, Tony East wrote an article on Forbes.com where he quoted Coach Carlisle saying, "If keeping the pick doesn't happen, there's a contingency plan to build the team up too. We're going to view it as a win-win situation. If it turns out we don't get one of the 4 picks, then we've fulfilled a pretty significant part of what we owe the Clippers, and we've gotten a center." A top 4 pick would be like finding a Victorian mansion for a steal. It's a high ceiling, but it's probably going to take a little bit of time to renovate. Losing the pick, it's like being forced to buy a turnkey condo. You don't get the historic architecture, but you can move in tonight and start living. I think the Pacers are looking at this the right way. If they land a top 4 pick, great. If not, it's not really a bad thing. It's just a shift in strategy. Extra money in free agency for the Pacers isn't a bad thing. If they land a top 4 pick, then that free agency money is going to go to that rookie. They have some holes that they need to fill. I know everyone loves J-Huff, but they could use an upgrade at backup center. They could also use an upgrade in terms of that primary bench scorer spot, that role that Benedict Mathurin filled during his time here in Indy. People aren't going to like this part, but that's okay. I also wouldn't mind it if they went and got a little more support for T.J. McConnell. He's 34 years old right now. His game is very reliant upon the ability to blow by people. Small guards, when they hit their mid-30s, aren't exactly the most reliable thing in the world. So those are the 3 different spots for the Pacers that I would look for them to improve at. Because at 34, T.J. McConnell is like a high-mileage sports car. It's the fastest thing on the block when it's running, but you don't want to be redlining it for 3 hours every single night over the course of an 82-game season. If you do that, you run the risk of it breaking down and not having it for the biggest moments of the postseason. That's my concern with T.J. McConnell, because he really only plays one way, and that's with the pedal on the floor, which is a good thing. That's why we love him. But can he hold up for a full season playing like that in his mid-30s? I would like some sort of an insurance plan at that spot. So those are the 3 positions where I think the Pacers are going to look to improve this free agency if they don't land a top 4 pick. Obviously, if they do land a top 4 pick, then given their current cap situation, they're not going to be able to add much more in free agency. So here are a few names that I think that you should be on the lookout for if the Pacers lose that top 4 pick. The first one is going to be Jose Alvarado. The Knicks traded for Jose Alvarado this season, but he is set to be a free agent with a player option at the end of the year. The option, if he were to opt in, would only be worth around $4.5 million. He could potentially get a lot more than that in the open market. I think he would be a great fit for the Indiana Pacers. He honestly reminds me a lot of TJ McConnell. Dude's a rabid defender, okay, plays hard, more than willing to pick up full court. You know, instead of stealing inbound passes, he does that thing where he crouches in the corner and then he sneaks up behind the ball handler, and he pokes it away. It's really funny. I love it. He's an energizer bunny when he enters the game, like TJ McConnell, but he's a better shooter than TJ McConnell is. Okay, he would be an interesting piece for the Indiana Pacers. He can play on the ball and he can play off the ball, which is a very valuable thing as well. Jock Landale, I think, would be an interesting backup center for the Pacers. I am a big believer in having the ability to play multiple styles, and you need different kinds of centers to do that. Landale is similar to Zubac, and how he's a bruiser, sets rugged screens, gets in there and rebounds, isn't afraid to foul you. He's physical, but he can stretch the floor. And it's nice to have a stretch five on your team. He shot 38% from three last year on about 3.5 attempts per game. The only downside, when Jock Landale's in the game, you're not getting the level of rim protection that you want from your center. But if he's playing, 12 minutes a night for you, then I think that they'll be fine from that perspective. Okay? Last guy here that I'll throw out there for you to kind of be on the lookout for when it comes to the Indiana Pacers if they end up having to go the free agency route in terms of making this team a title contender. Anthony Simons. I think he is an interesting off-the-bench scorer. He's instant coffee. You don't need to wait for him to brew or to get into a rhythm. You put him in the game, and he provides an immediate jolt of caffeine to the offense. He can score in multiple ways. You can run him off screens. He can catch and shoot. He can handle the basketball and run screen and roll and do those things. He can pull up from 30 feet. He is an excellent shooter, making him, I think, a really nice offensive engine for the second unit. He can also play off the ball, so he can play alongside Tyrese Halliburton and the first unit if you need him to. This is one of the things that I love about Tyrese Halliburton. He's 6'6". What does that mean? That means that Anthony Simons can defend point guards when he's on the floor, because Anthony Simons is only about 6'3" or so. So very, very big fan of that. So those are the three guys that I would kind of look for with the Pacers this year in terms of if they don't land a top 4 pick. Obviously, we hope that happens. But there's a world where it doesn't happen. Then you go into free agency and you kind of figure things out from there. So the lottery. We have 3 shows until the lottery. It's coming up on Sunday, every day leading up to the NBA draft lottery. We have done a lottery of our own. Okay, we draw a number between 1 and 7, and then I have a take corresponding with every single number. I'm about to draw a number right now. Chris, if you will play the sounder.
Such happy music.
I know. Well, let's be honest. We're hopeful. We're hoping that the best outcome happens for the Pacers. We want that top 4 pick. We really want the number 1 overall pick. I mean, AJ DeBonta here would just be awesome. I think everyone would be absolutely elated if that happened. But today, I drew a 1, which means I talk about my least favorite thing. So basically, the way that this works, we have numbers 1 through 7 that we're drawing on. Each number corresponds with the take that I feel about that thing on a scale of 1 to 7. So when we drew the number 7, it was something that I absolutely loved. Today we drew a 1, so this is something that I absolutely hate, and you absolutely hate as well. referees. I've never met a single person during my 26 years on earth, to be fair, not very long, that likes referees. They do a good job for the most part. But when they make a mistake, it is always at the most pivotal point in the game. Like, they never make a bad call in the first quarter with 8 minutes to go. They make it look easy. It's like, yeah, that ball was out on him. That was clearly pass interference. That clearly wasn't pass interference. That was holding. Nope, not holding there. They never miss a call early in the game. It only happens late in the fourth quarter when the game is hanging in the balance, where they're just like, let me swallow this whistle really quickly. Or they're overly committed to not swallowing the whistle, and they're blowing it at the slightest hint of contact, and that's not good for anybody, right? I mean, it's just not. So referees absolutely hate them. You don't like them either, and I'm trying to think through some of the worst refereeing I've seen. I think one that comes to mind is when Reggie Miller very obviously pushes off on Michael Jordan and then nails a game winner. It's so clearly a foul. But like, they're not calling it in that spot. And good on Reggie Miller for knowing that they're not calling it in that spot. You obviously have the very famous Des Bryant. That was a catch in Green Bay, by the way. Not a catch. Like, it pops up on my feed from time to time. I'm just like, yeah, there's no way that he caught that football. He hits the ground and the ball's still moving. Absolutely not. He didn't complete the process of the catch. Oh, wait, no, I've got it. Rams, Saints, NFC Championship game. What year would this have been? It's probably about 7 years ago now. It's like around 2019. Jared Goff's still there. It's the year where they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl and they lose 10-3. I don't know if you remember, but the game goes to overtime because Drew Brees has a wide open receiver. And the safety for the Rams just absolutely crushes the receiver like 10 yards before the ball gets there. I mean, just blows this dude up, leads with the crown of the helmet, should have been targeting and pass interference. And if they pick up on those, then the Saints wind up in field goal range. They probably make the field goal, and they then advance to the Super Bowl, right, where they would have played the Patriots. But do you know what I'm talking about, or are you just nodding?
Vaguely.
Yeah. I'll never forget it, man. That is the answer. That is the worst officiating call I have ever seen.
Sounds like it hurt you personally to remember it that vividly.
I just let me see if I can find a photo of it. I don't know how to put them up on the stream. Rams versus Saints, missed pass interference call.
It's one of the buttons on the bottom. But another good example of bad refereeing, even though it went the Colts' way, the game against the Broncos this past season, where they called that last second penalty and we got to re-kick and we won the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I don't think that was what they said it was, but we'll take it. A win's a win.
Do I have to download the image?
Yes.
Okay, save image. Sorry. I want everyone to know what I'm talking about here because I feel a little crazy talking about it like this. Image file.
You painted a very good picture, though.
This right here. I mean, he hits him so early. I'll never forget it. I mean, like, not looking for the football, just absolutely clearing this dude.
And they didn't call that?
They didn't throw a flag. I remember it so well because I had a friend that was a Saints fan at the time, and I would go to school or the following day I would go to school, and he'd be like, "Dude, yeah, that's pass interference," and I would say the most annoying thing ever. I would say that's not pass interference. Do you know how I know that's not pass interference? They didn't throw a flag.
Fair enough.
It's the rule, man. My dad, man, when I was playing baseball, my dad, he used to how do I take this down? Did I set that? There we go. He would do this really annoying thing where, like, I would get rung up on strike 3, and the ball would be 6 inches off the plate, and I'd walk back to the dugout and be like, "That's not a strike." And you're like, I'm heated because I just lost. And my dad would look at me and go, well, it is a strike because the umpire said that it is. I'm like, okay, Dad, whatever. Whatever. All right. Officials, they suck. Nobody likes them. There is your lottery take for the day. It is Wednesday, which means we got to do Over the Hump Day. We are doing Over the Hump Day trivia later for my new listeners. That is Mike Woodson trivia. And if you call in and you just participate in the trivia, we're like college sports now. If you just participate, we'll give you something. And that something is going to be not 1, but 2 tickets to Holiday World. We are playing that game at 2 o'clock, 317-228-1430. That is the number. If you want to call in, we can talk college football playoff and whatever else. Doesn't really matter to me today, but 5 minutes, we are doing Over the Hump Day.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 2 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. It's Wednesday, 2 o'clock, 1 hour. We are playing trivia, Mike Woodson trivia, for your chance to win a couple of tickets to Holiday World. And speaking of Mike Woodson, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for Over the Hump Day.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo! Hump Day!
No, as a coach, I gotta get us over that hump. I gotta get them comfortable, knowing that you're gonna be in close games and you gotta make plays coming down the home stretch. I mean, in the tournament, we were right there. I just didn't get them over the hump, man. And that's something that I live with every day of my life. Because I truly believe that was the team to really make some noise and get to the finals, and I just couldn't get them over the hump.
Mike Woodson and his just forever long battle of trying to get teams over the hump. Shout out to him for being the inspiration for this segment. And the college football world, they can expand the college football playoff all that they want to. They can put everybody in. But in this era of college sports, you're not going to win a national championship until you have someone forking out the money to purchase the roster that you need. Indiana football could have been stuck fighting to get over the hump this year, but someone stepped up. And that someone was Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is the one who gave the money that allowed Indiana to bring in Fernando Mendoza into their program and be their quarterback last year. Check out this clip from Mark Cuban.
It all started really at the Notre Dame playoff game the year before when we were losing, and I was in the suite with the AD, Scott Dolson, and Pam Winton. We sucked, right? We were getting blown out from the beginning. First thing I said to Scott was, well, at least this year you're not having to look for another football coach, because that was kind of a time-honored tradition at Indiana, always looking for a football coach. And so he's like, yeah, that's the positive. And then we started talking. He's like, we've got this quarterback that we really, really like, that we think would be great. Just need a little bit more. I'm like, how much is a little bit? And so he told me, and I'm like, okay, we're on a roll. I'll put up the money to get this quarterback. I knew Fernando's brother, who already was on the team because he was a Heat fan and he would sit behind the Miami bench. And when I would come to go to Mavs Heat games, he was like, oh yeah, I go to IU and da-da-da-da-da. So we met. And so I'm like, okay, I'll put up the money and we can go get Fernando, and the rest is history.
How much did they need?
They needed enough. Yeah.
I love asking the question, like trying to get a number. I would love to know what the number was, because I'm sure it was not, it's probably a small amount of money for Mark Cuban, probably a lot of money for me, though. And you have to have someone like this. You have to have a bag man somewhere behind the scenes forking out the money for you to bring in the right players. Coaching is like having a great architect. They can design a beautiful house and give you the blueprints for success, but blueprints don't buy the lumber. They don't pay the masons. Indiana had the plans. Coach Cignetti had the plan in place. Hey, this is how we're going to go from zero to hero. This is how we're going to become a national championship program. Blueprint. It was beautiful. Everybody bought into it. But at some point, you had to have the materials to get it done. And Mark Cuban provided the construction loan that actually built a championship, skyscraper in Bloomington. Without that cash, you're just standing on an empty lot with a lot of really nice drawings. Fernando Mendoza was the heart and soul of Indiana last year. Best quarterback in the country. And I don't know if Indiana would have won the national championship without him last year. When you run through the list of the other top quarterbacks in college football, it wasn't very impressive. Like Julian Sayin struggled against Indiana and Miami. But, Ohio State lost both of those games. Bryce Underwood struggled for Michigan. Played really bad for Michigan, honestly. Miami won with Carson Beck, but not because of him. They kind of won in spite of him. Whenever they had to put the game in his hands, he really kind of cost them. Dante Moore had some really nice moments at Oregon, but really struggled against Indiana. Drew Aller was a mess last year. Fernando Mendoza, again, he was by far and away the best and most consistent quarterback in college football last year. Everyone knows and understands the role that he played in Indiana winning a national title last year. I don't think they could have won it with any other quarterback. If he had gone to Georgia, another team that heavily recruited him, then I think Georgia probably would have won the national championship. He was that big of a difference maker. And the only reason Indiana got him was because Mark Cuban stepped up and spent the money required. In the modern era of college sports, if you want to get over the hump, you have to have boosters who are willing to pay for it. You have to have good coaching to be good in college sports, right? Like that is a given. That is something that will always be true no matter how the landscape of college football changes. But it can only get you to the base of the hill. That's what we saw in year one of Coach Cignetti. His coaching got Indiana into the playoff. But they weren't good enough to win it until Mark Cuban's Benjamins showed up and pushed them up and over the hill in the form of Fernando Mendoza. Indiana ran into that Notre Dame team, and Notre Dame took their lunch money and their dignity, and they ran away. The memes after that game of Coach Cignetti on the game day desk, legendary. Okay? You have to have someone bankrolling the efforts, and Indiana has that in abundance with all of these different guys that have, graduated from their school of business. Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban having attended Indiana. I don't think he ever graduated, but he's obviously one of those guys who loves Indiana, and he's one of the biggest reasons why they won a national title. We used to talk about strength of schedule in college football. Now we talk about strength of ledger. You can have the best playbook in the world, but if your booster's checkbook is thin, your trophy case is going to remain empty. It's one of the issues that Alabama's running into right now. They just don't have enough boosters to fork out the money to get them over the hump. Unlike Indiana, who has multiple people in addition to the one and only Mark Cuban. Big news just broke. We have breaking news.
You like that?
You really like that.
I love that.
I like it.
Who else
really
knows
like
about that?
You said what?
Who else knows about that?
Yeah.
I know somebody who's like, oh, I know that sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little MTV for you.
It's our breaking news sound right there. What
There
do we
you go.
got?
Joel Embiid has been ruled out for game 2 tonight against the New York Knicks. It's so soft. Due to ankle and hip soreness. Come on, man.
That's not really breaking news, is it? He's
This
always
broke
50,
10 minutes
50.
ago.
Okay.
You're right. He is always 50,
It's no
50.
surprise.
I just come on, man. This is a joke, right? It's there's got to be something more serious than just I'm sore. Apparently, he was unable to participate in the team's shoot-around this morning after experiencing increased soreness in both his ankle and hip. Jeez Louise. He has been receiving around-the-clock treatment and efforts to play. That is all from Shehan Shams Charania. Ain't no way. Absolutely not.
Dude is super fragile.
Seriously. I mean, what? I mean, look, man. These NBA teams, I cannot imagine the kind of treatment technology that they have access to. I went to a small Division II college, and the amount of treatment stuff we had there was incredible. Between like stem cell stuff, they had these different like chambers and things. It was insane. You telling me you can't help him get rid of soreness in 2 days? Really?
Get some Icy Hot or some Blue Emu or something.
Seriously. How about like a steroid shot? I mean, like that was the thing for Dwayne Wade. They used to have to shoot. They used to have to shoot his knees up and drain them and do all sorts of stuff so that he could play later on in his career. Can't do anything like that for Joel.
You saw him the other night, right? Where he was like all stretched out over the bench and like was having the stomach issues and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that something was gonna like crawl out of his stomach like in the Spaceballs movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I
Start dancing around.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I mean, seriously, that is like there's always one guy. For example, I think the generation before me, the guy would be like Greg Oden, where he comes out of college, in Indianapolis kid as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to call Greg Oden a kid, but I just did. But, you know, a guy from Indianapolis and all those things. And is awesome at Ohio State. Ends up going number 1 overall. Everyone's really excited about him. He was going to be awesome. And then he just has all these injuries. And they could just never really quite figure out why. And cost him his career. I think Joel Embiid is that guy for people my age. Number 3 overall pick coming out of Kansas. You know, the face of the process. In other words, he was the face of losing because that's what the process was. It was we're just going to tank as much as we can. And he's just never been healthy because they have a really nice collection of players between Maxey and Edgecombe and Paul George. And, of course, Joel Embiid is in that as well. But when Joel Embiid can't stay healthy, it doesn't really matter what those other 3 guys look like. So it's a really disappointing thing. Another year of Joel Embiid not reaching the conference finals, it seems, because I don't think that they're good enough without him to win these games, especially on the road against the Knicks team that is just operating at a completely different level right now. I mean, incredible stuff. There's another game tonight. This isn't breaking news, but I would call it news. Timberwolves, Ayo Dosunmu. Shout out Bulls fans. Still can't believe that they gave that guy up for a freaking second-round pick. He has been upgraded to available after missing game 1 against the Spurs with a calf strain. So good news there. Hopefully he plays. That's the thing about that series, man. Like, the Timberwolves are only going to get better as Ayo Dosunmu comes back, as Anthony Edwards plays more than 25 minutes. And they won game 1 in pretty convincing fashion. I know they only won by 2, but there were some late game heroics there from San Antonio. Minnesota's going to win that series. And when it happens, I'm going to dance on the grave of the San Antonio Spurs and everyone who told me that they were good enough to win a title. Because no, at some point, experience has to matter. Ross Campbell saying, I really thought Joel Embiid was the number 1 pick. Who went number 1? I believe it was Andrew Wiggins that year. Should have been. It was Wiggins. Who was the number 2 overall pick in that draft? Oh, man, that's going to bother me. Because Wiggins went 1 to Cleveland, but then Cleveland traded him to Minnesota. Here, what draft was Joel Embiid drafted in? The 2014. Oh, yeah, the 2014 draft. Here we go. Yeah, the number 1 overall pick was Andrew Wiggins. Look at me. Jabari Parker. That's right. He was the number 2 overall pick. I freaking loved him coming out of Duke. And then you had Joel Embiid. And then 4th was Aaron Gordon. 5th was Dante Exum. 6th was Marcus Smart. So not a great draft class looking at it right now. Not great at all, but hey, it has sometimes. Who did the Pacers take in this draft? They would have been really good that year because that was around the time that Paul George was here. Did they even have a first round pick? Doesn't look like they did. So anyway, I got a little sidetracked there. But yeah, it was Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and then Joel Embiid. So 2014, geez, man, that was 12 years ago. That's insane. 12 years of Joel Embiid not being healthy. Not great for the Philadelphia 76ers. You know what else isn't great? The expansion or the future expansion of the college football playoff. The American Football Coaches Association voted in favor of a 2014 college football playoff. They are not, they do not have the final say-so on what happens to the playoff, but their voices being in favor of it is a big deal. That is important, and we will talk about how stupid of an idea that is in 3 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, or 1430 a.m. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. And there's really no excuse to expand the college football playoff. The gap is just way too large. College athletics just continues to get dumber by the day. By the way, if you want to get smarter, tune in at 2 o'clock as we play more trivia. Call in 317-228-1430. Call in at 2 o'clock for your chance to win a couple of tickets to Holiday World. But right now, college athletics just continues to get dumber by the day. 76 teams now in the March Madness tournament. Insanely dumb. And the American Football Coaches Association voted in favor of a couple of changes to college football. They voted in favor of expanding the playoff to 24 teams, ending the playoff before the second weekend of January, and eliminating conference championship games. Ending the playoff before the second weekend of January, incredibly smart. Big fan of that. Love that. Eliminating conference championships, I don't like, because I think that it should mean something to win your conference. That is a real accomplishment. But if you're going to expand the playoff to 24 teams, then it makes sense. What doesn't make sense, though, is expanding the college football playoff to 24 teams. Okay? It is incredibly idiotic. There's no reason for 24 teams to make the college football playoff. You have to have something that separates you from the other leagues. For example, college basketball, their separation from the NBA is the fact that March Madness is arguably the best sporting event on the sports calendar. That is what separates it from the NBA, because the overall level of play in the NBA is just better. The overall level of play in the NFL is better than the overall level of play in college. But college football separates itself, or used to, because of the regular season. That was a major advantage that they had, and they are on the verge of punting on that. In the NFL, you can go a game over 500 and make the playoffs. You can be like the Panthers last year. You can go under 500. You can go 8-9 and make the playoffs. That's insane. Everyone knows that it is, and no one liked it last year except for Panther fans. The beauty of college football used to be that you had to go virtually perfect to have a chance to make the college football playoff. Anything worse than 11-1, and you were probably on the outside looking in. One bad loss to Northern Illinois, your season was over. Then the NCAA expanded the college football playoff to 12 teams. Now, if you go 9-3, then you're going to have a chance to make the playoff. Right? You're kind of on that teetering edge. Who did you lose to? Who did you beat? All of those things. It's led to teams being incentivized to play softer schedules. That's why Notre Dame's schedule looks like an 8-year-old's birthday party. It's just nothing but cupcakes. They're going to line them up. They're going to beat them over the head with a hammer. They're going to finish it in the top 12 and be a lock for the college football playoff. And it's what they should do, because that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to make the playoff and give yourself an opportunity to compete for a national championship. But what Notre Dame should do, which is play a bunch of cupcakes, is not the best thing for the sport. That's why USC opted out of the Notre Dame yearly game. It's like, yeah, we don't need to play that game anymore. All it does is hurt us. There's no advantage to it whatsoever. College football's regular season used to be sacred. Week 8 of the regular season was bigger than the college football playoff. Because if you lost that important conference game, or if you won that important conference game, then it would do major things to your chance to make or miss the college football playoff. Every week was a playoff game. That was the reality of the sport. That was the thing that made it unique from the NFL. That is what made it must-see TV. It's what made it special. But then they went to 12 teams, and that lessened it a little bit. And when they eventually expand to 16 or 24, the regular season won't mean anything anymore. College football used to be this 5-star reservation-only steakhouse where there was a dress code and you had to dress up to get in and you had to be all perfect, and it helped if you knew somebody. The stakes were high. Now, the AFCA wants to turn it into an all-you-can-eat Golden Corral. Sure, there's no food, but most of it's this like lukewarm mystery meat and soggy rolls. We're not getting more quality. We're getting more indigestion. Ohio State versus Michigan is just going to be another rivalry game. It won't be a game with any greater stakes like a playoff spot. Part of what made those losses to Michigan so brutal for Ohio State fans was they would walk away from that game like, gosh, dang it, we went 11-1. There's a chance we don't make the playoff now. Texas versus Oklahoma is going to regress to a cool, neutral site game that's really a border war. No playoff stakes. You can lose to every good team on your schedule and make the college football playoff. That's what would have happened to USC and Michigan last year. You don't even have to be good to play in the college football playoff when they go to 24 teams. You don't have to play anyone tough in your non-conference schedule. Like if I was any Power 4 team in a conference and I had any tough non-conference game, I'd be like, hey, yeah, not showing up to that. We're going to go play SF Austin instead. Because that is the smart move. The regular season used to be the movie in college football. Every scene mattered. Every plot twist was vital. Now, when they eventually move to 24 teams, the regular season is just a 3-month-long trailer. It's like, why am I sitting through the whole film in October if I already know that the ending is just everyone qualifying for the sequel anyway? If I know that the ending is going to be what every movie and TV show does now, and that's bring somebody back from the dead for the finale. It's like, oh, wait, you mean USC's in this? Didn't they lose 3 games in a row in October? Why are they here in January? That doesn't make sense. You're asking us to buy a ticket for a game that has the emotional weight of a preseason scrimmage. 8-4 Iowa would have gotten into the playoff last year. And they went 6-3 in the Big Ten. Wouldn't call that a championship resume, to say the least. USC and Michigan, 2 extremely flawed teams last year, would have gotten a chance to compete for a championship. They weren't that good. They played like 3 good teams. They lost all of them. Wouldn't call that, worthy of competing for a national title. Let's just look at the 12-team playoff last year. Teams like Alabama, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma, 3 teams that made the playoff last year, proved to not be anywhere close to good enough to compete for a national championship. That also that doesn't include talking about Tulane and James Madison, who both got their doors blown off. College football should be reducing the number of teams in the college football playoff. They should be going from 12 to 6, not 12 to 24. Because now, if you're just an average SEC or an average Big Ten school, congratulations. You're going to make the college football playoff. Purdue, you're 7 wins away from being good enough to make the college football playoff. Congratulations. The importance of the regular season is gone. The draw, the thing that made college football unique from every other sport, is gone. Every game mattered, but that is no longer the case. I want to touch on one more thing here when it comes to the college football playoff expanding, because I know I'm going to hear this argument, and it makes me upset, and I just want to slap people whenever they bring this up. College football is not college basketball. This is not going to turn into March Madness where we have all these upsets. With the introduction of NIL, the best teams in the country are just creating a larger gap between them and everybody else. We're just going to get more blowouts, and the better teams are just going to wind up with more injuries, therefore lessening the overall product that we get. That's all we're signing up for with the expansion of the college football playoff. This is nothing short of a bad idea, but it generates more revenue. So Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia can continue to outbid the smaller, poorer schools for the best players. They're selling us a lie. March Madness works because one guy can get hot from three and sink a giant. In football, you're not out scheming a roster that costs $20 million more than your roster costs. Okay, all that this is doing is giving the bullies of the sport more chances to stuff nerds into lockers. This isn't an underdog story. This is a sanctioned beatdown. Again, this is an idiotic idea. Go from 12 teams down to 6. That is the clear and obvious solution. Okay? That is the clear and obvious solution. And I don't think that college football is the only sport that should be doing this. I think that the NBA should have less teams make the playoffs. Over half of the league makes the playoffs. That's insane. In the NFL, 14 of the 32 teams make the playoffs. That's absurd. If you are average, you should not have the opportunity to compete for a championship in any way, shape, or form. It's really a simple thing. Okay? I'm golly. College sports, man. Just get out of your own way.
Obviously, with the NFL, you have like wild card. You're excited for wild card weekend. Am I right?
Yes.
You were excited this year for the play-in tournament for the NBA.
Yeah, I was.
Excuse me. So after the bowl games in college are all said and done, and you bookmark this, there's not a chance that you would go back and be like, that was a great idea. I'm really glad this happened. You don't see that happening at all.
I don't, because okay, let me see if I can find a good example of this quickly. Like, can we? Let me see if I want to pull up Indiana's schedule from last year, and I want to see if they played anybody that was kind of like on the fringe of making the playoff, and the gap of it, right? Because I'm not like if there were 24 teams good enough to win a national title, then yeah, expand to 24. The issue is there's like 4, not even that, right? Like here, let's look here. Iowa played them close, to Iowa's credit. Indiana won that game 20-15. Illinois would have had a chance to make the college football playoff, and Indiana beat them 63-10. I think we knew at the end of the first quarter of that game that Illinois was not good enough to win a national title. And again, like I'm a big fan of exclusivity. I think that the less teams that you have, the higher the overall level of play is going to be. Because like I didn't need to, like I don't need to watch, or like last year I didn't need to watch Michigan and USC play one more game. Like I'm good, thanks, but no thanks, really. I didn't need to see Virginia play any more games. Like, you lost to Duke, thanks. I know all that I really need to know about you at that point. I didn't need to see Utah play any more games. Like if you're ranked below 6, then I think I have a pretty good feeling on who you are as a football team. And so, yeah, I just pass on that.
Okay. Just clarifying. Because in my head, I'm thinking while you're saying this, and like I was kind of picturing, what if we came out on the other side of this and was just like, man, that was really entertaining, and I hope this lasts for a long time. But in their eyes, it probably doesn't matter. They're just looking for more income and looking to spread more, advertising and whatnot. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a money play. That's what it is. And I thought Shehan Jeyarajah, who joined us earlier in the show, He made a really good point on how a lot of these college coaches, they have bonuses tied up in making the playoff. And obviously, if there's more playoff teams available or more playoff spots available, then the more likely you are to make that to earn that bonus. Let me count this real quick. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We had 11 games last year in the college football playoff. How many of those games do you think finished as a one-score game?
I would say less than 50%.
4. That's it. And like Oregon blew out James Madison. They beat them by 17. Ole Miss beat Tulane by 31. Oregon beat Texas Tech 23-0. Indiana beat Alabama 38-3. Let me look here. Indiana beat Oregon 56-22. Like, we had more absolute blowouts than we did one possession games. And like, I don't know. I'm assuming you watched. Like, Alabama played Indiana, and it's like, all right, it's halftime. I'm gonna go do something else now.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It is such a Alabama college football is such an elitist sport. Like, the gap between the 1% and the 2% is ginormous. And as long as that's the case, I'm just not going to see any good reason to expand the college football playoff other than these coaches want their nice little participation trophies that come with nice size checks of making the playoff. So that's where I'm at with it. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's good for Indiana. You're going to get to beat a few more teams by 7,000 points. So that'll be fun, I guess. I guess the only other like glass half full version of this would be, like there's probably a team out there that's going to like lose their quarterback for a month and they're going to go like 1-3 in that stretch and they'll still be able to make the playoff and maybe they make some noise as a lower seed. But outside of that, I think we're just in for more blowouts. And yeah, like I don't care to watch Indiana bludgeon teams 45-7. Especially when I already know that's what's going to happen. So, again, maybe I'm just bitter. I don't know. 317-228-1430 if you have any thoughts on the future expansion of the college football playoff. Now, we have the lottery coming up on Sunday. The Pacers have a plan in place for what happens if they don't keep their top 4 pick. I will tell you what that is in 4 minutes.
may one day be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, or 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, if you want tickets to Holiday World, get your phone out and ready. 317-228-1430. That is the number. Could you hear that?
I did. What was that? Was that your water bottle?
Yeah. Let's go with that.
What are you doing over there?
Let's go with that. And get ready to play. We are doing, since today is Over the Hump Day, we have some Over the Hump Day inspired trivia. Shout out Mike Woodson. Can't wait to do that. That is coming up here at 2 o'clock. 317-228-1430. That is the number when the time rolls around. We've also got the lottery quickly approaching. Indiana Pacer fans are going more and more anxious by the day. There's a 52% chance that the Pacers keep their pick on Sunday, and there's a 48% chance that pick winds up with the Clippers. Either way, the Pacers have to find a way to improve the team. Obviously, a top 4 pick would allow them to do that. But what happens if they don't land a top 4 pick? Then free agency is going to be the avenue that they have to use to make this team a title contender. Here's what Coach Carlisle said earlier in the week. If keeping the pick doesn't happen, by the way, this quote courtesy of Tony East, Forbes.com. He's got a great article up on this. Here's the quote from Coach Carlisle. If keeping the pick doesn't happen, there's a contingency plan to build the team up to. We're going to view it as a win-win situation. If it turns out we don't get one of the 4 picks, then we fulfilled a pretty significant part of what we owe the Clippers, and we've got a center. A top 4 pick for the Pacers this year would be like finding a Victorian mansion for a steal of a price, but it's a bit of a fixer-upper. It's got a high ceiling, but it's going to take some time to renovate it to get it up to a point where you can really live in it. Losing the pick is going to be like being forced to buy a turnkey condo where, sure, you don't get the historic architecture of a Victorian mansion, but you can move in tonight and you can start living and having a great life in that condo. I think the Pacers are looking at this the right way. If it's a top 4 pick, then great. If not, it's not really a bad thing. It's just a shift in strategy. Okay, extra money for the Pacers in free agency is not a bad thing. They've got a couple holes that they need to fill. I know everyone loves Jay Huff. We love the reverse dunks and all those things. But they could use an upgrade at backup center. I think that would be helpful. They could use an upgrade in terms of their primary bench scorer since they traded Benedict Mathurin away to the Clippers. I wouldn't mind them finding a little more support for TJ McConnell, maybe a guy who can take some of his minutes. He's 34 years old. Small guards, when they hit their mid-30s, aren't exactly the most reliable thing in the world. At 34, TJ McConnell is like a high-mileage sports car. Still the fastest thing on the block when it's running, but you don't want it redlining for 3 hours every single night over the course of the season. If you do that, then you run the risk of it breaking down. That's my concern about TJ McConnell. He only plays with his pedal to the floor, and can he hold up for a full season like that in his mid-30s? I think it is a very fair question to ask, and I wouldn't call it an area of concern for the Pacers, but it's one of those things where if they've got like a few $million left over in terms of staying below the cap and all those things, then maybe it'd be worth looking out and seeing if you can find another backup point guard to take some of those minutes away from TJ McConnell. One of the guys that I would look at for the Pacers this year in terms of guys who can come off the bench and be impactful, I'm going to run you through 3 to kind of fill those 3 needs that the Pacers have. The first guy I would look at if I want to fill some of those TJ McConnell minutes is Jose Alvarado. Okay, he is set to be a free agent with a player option at the end of the year. The option's only around $4.5 million. Just be really honest here. $4.5 million in the city of New York, not going to get you very far. Now, he could potentially get more than that on the open market, which if he opts out of his deal, he'll be able to do. I think he'd be an excellent fit for the Pacers. I think he's a lot like TJ McConnell. He's a rabid defender who is more than willing to pick up full court. Okay, he does his little thing where he hides in the corner and then pokes the ball away as the opposing team is bringing the ball up the floor. I find it hilarious. It's known as the Grand Theft Alvarado. Big fan of that nickname as well. So, rabid defender, gets in your grill. He's an Energizer bunny when he enters the game, very similar to TJ McConnell, except Alvarado is a much better shooter. I think he would be an interesting piece for the Pacers if they wanted to relieve TJ McConnell of some of the minutes that he's currently earning. Okay, another guy on the list that I think that the Pacers might look into is Jock Landale. I think he would be an interesting backup center for the Pacers. I am a big believer in having the ability to play multiple styles. That is one of the things about Jay Huff and why I hope that they keep him around. Very fluid mover, good shot blocker, can knock down a three. Jock Landale is like a little happy medium between Zubac and Jay Huff. So Landale is similar to Zubac in how he's a big bruiser. He's physical. He rebounds. He sets good screens. But like Jay Huff, he can stretch the floor better than Zubac can. Okay, shot about 38% from three last year on about 3.5 attempts per game. The only downside of Landale would be the fact that he's not some elite rim protector. Okay, Anthony Simons is the last name that I'll throw out here. He's just an interesting off-the-bench scorer. He's instant coffee. You don't need to wait for him to brew or get into a rhythm or anything like that. Like, you put him in the game, and he provides an immediate jolt of caffeine to your offense. And he can score in a lot of different ways. Okay, you can run him off screens. He can be the primary ball handler and run screen and roll. He's got incredible range. He's an incredible shooter, making him a nice little offensive engine for your second unit. He can also play off the ball, which is a very underrated skill in the NBA. You need guys who can do both. And because he can also play off the ball, he can play alongside Tyrese Halliburton and the first unit if you need him to. He's another ball handler, right? He can really handle the basketball. I really liked him when he was playing in Boston earlier this year, but they moved him to the Bulls. The Bulls will probably trade him for another second-round pick later on in the offseason, or I guess not, because he's going to be a free agent. But you catch my drift. I think he would be an excellent fit here for the Pacers, right? Because this is the other difference which part of me, obviously I want the Pacers to land a top 4 pick, but another plus of the free agency side of things is when you're drafting someone with a top 4 pick, you have to worry about the future, and you also have to worry about right now. How is this guy going to impact our title opportunities right now, but also how good is he going to be in 5 years? Cam Boozer, probably the better option for the short-term window, like AJ DeBonsa, probably a better fit for our long-term window, right? So you have to balance those two things. Whereas when you just straight up free agency, how does this guy help us right now? It is a much simpler question to ask. You don't have to do the limbo of figuring out both the current situation and the future situation as well. So I am very intrigued to see what ends up happening on Sunday night, Mother's Day. Kind of insane that I keep forgetting that Mother's Day is on Sunday, but it is. So, go hang out with, your wife and your kids, and then at 7:00, be like, sorry, I have to watch the lottery. Sorry about that. Oh man. But it's a big night for the Pacers because we don't really know what their offseason is going to look like until those lottery balls are drawn. Hopefully, the balls fall in their favor and they wind up with the number 1 overall pick. Again, firmly holding the belief that A.J. DeBonsa is the guy that the Pacers should take. After that, it just feels like a big drop-off in terms of the Pacers achieving both acquiring someone who can help them right now with their short-term window and someone who they can have be the running mate alongside Tyrese Halliburton when Pascal Siakam eventually ages past the point of being that guy, right? We probably got like 5 years or so until that happens, but that's how I feel about it right now. Ross saying I think the lottery is at like 3:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah, 3:00.
Is it really?
Yep.
That's early.
I know, it's really random, middle of the day.
I could have sworn it was at night last year.
3:00 on ABC.
Okay. Sounds I guess that makes sense. They'll probably run that from like 3 to 3:30 and then the first playoff game will start. That's probably how they'll do it. So that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, between just before game 4 of Knicks and Sixers.
Yep.
There you go.
So there's that's what you should do Sunday. Go to church, take your wife out for like a nice little lunch on Mother's Day. Like, we appreciate you so much. And then watch the lottery and all the basketball games. Sure, your wife would love that.
I can't imagine that would be a super big event, right? Like you find out who has the first 5 picks in what, 10 or 15 minutes?
They count backwards.
Oh, they do it backwards.
Start at 14. Yep.
What?
I know. It's smart. It's good TV.
No, it's not.
We're building to the moment. Because
good.
that's why people are tuning in. They want to know who's going to have the number 1 overall pick. They obviously want to hold your attention for as long as possible. So if they tell you that immediately, then you can turn it off and be like, all right, I'm cool.
I don't care about the other 13 teams. Let's get it going. I got stuff to do.
Man, I do. Where's Darius Acuff going to go? Where's Keaton Wagler going to wind up?
Fair enough. But it's not the draft. It's just the number that you're
Yeah.
seeing. That's
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a fan of it. It's because I'm a nerd. It's one of my more favorite events of the year. Like I'll watch, which part of it is like, this is only 30 minutes. I'll watch the NBA draft lottery before I'll watch the NFL draft.
Really?
I think there's way more drama and there's way more tension because like with the NFL draft, like we have a pretty decent idea of like, they're probably going to take like one of these 3 players.
Right.
And then and then they do. And you go, oh, that's great for them. Whereas this, like if that Clippers symbol pops up at pick 7, 6, or 5, I mean, you're going to feel it immediately. Just the impact of that on the Pacers.
Sure.
Right. And so I just think that there's a little more drama involved. And
Fair
I think
enough.
that's why I like it a little bit.
Okay.
More. So
I'm going to try to watch it from Jonathan Smith's eyes on Sunday.
Sounds good. Sounds good. 317-228-1430. That is the number if you would like your chance to win 2 tickets to Holiday World. It's a great time. You want to go. Speaking of Mother's Day, leave your kids at home. Take your wife to Holiday World. But hey, for Mother's Day, you don't have to deal with the kids. So congratulations there. You could also go to IndiesSportsTicket.com because if you want to look and feel your best this summer, Indiana Medical Center is your solution. They are a leading medical spa offering transformative but non-surgical treatments. This Friday, 9 a.m., go to IndiesSportsTicket.com and click on that Sweet Deals tab to get any body sculpting, skin tightening, or facial rejuvenation, a $399 treatment for only $149.
Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show, hour number 3, getting underway. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. 317-228-1430. That is the number if you want to call in for your chance to win a couple of tickets to Holiday World. Again, 317-228-1430. That is the number. Today's Wednesday, which means that we're doing Over the Hump Day. And so in honor of Over the Hump Day, we have some Mike Woodson-inspired trivia. Chris is looking at me like, somebody please call in so I don't have to answer these questions.
I will not get one right. I guarantee you that.
Let me look through them.
Nope,
Yes.
not a one.
There's one you would get.
I promise you I won't get
You
one.
would get at least 2 of them correct.
Nope.
You might get 3. It's structured a little bit differently today. So the first 3 questions are easy. The second 3 are a little bit tougher. Last 3, pretty hard. Won't lie, pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm going to need a lifeline or 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know how we'll do it. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win some tickets. Or not even a chance. Like, if you're the first caller, you're going to play the game. But for playing the game, we will give you the tickets. All right? You can take your wife. You can take a buddy. You can do whatever you want with the tickets. Or, whatever, I guess.
I'm taking Diana Rossini.
She probably needs a little pick-me-up after everything that's happened to her.
She's my first round pick.
Okay, seriously. All right. While we're waiting on someone to call in, 317-228-1430. Quick draft on who you would take to Holiday World. My first pick has to be my wife. So there's my first pick.
That's an obvious one. Okay, well, if my first pick wasn't one of my kids, then they'd probably be pretty upset. So one of my daughters, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh, someone called in. All right, that works. Perfect. What a way to spend some time. All right. Here we go. We got someone on the line. Little Mike Woodson trivia for some Holiday World tickets. Who's on Scott, what's going on? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So congratulations. We're going to give you the tickets, but we're not the NCAA. We don't like doing participation trophies. So we're going to do a little trivia but before we give you those tickets. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. First question for you. Before returning to coach the Hoosiers, Mike Woodson spent the majority of his professional career coaching in what league?
The NBA.
Ah, there you go. There's one. Really easy. Next question. Mike Woodson played his college ball at IU under which legendary Hall of Fame head coach?
Bob Knight.
Hey, there's 2. Chris, you would have gotten those. All right.
Really?
What is Mike Woodson's signature facial hairstyle that became a frequent topic of conversation during his coaching career?
Goatee.
Yep, the goatee. Look at that. 3 for 3. Scott's on a roll. All right. Next question here. Mike Woodson served as the head coach for 2 different NBA franchises. Can you name them?
About the Knicks
There's one.
and the Hawks.
The Knicks and the Hawks. Hey, Scott's 4 for 4. Let's go. This is by far the best anyone has done with the trivia. All right. So in the 2003 season, Mike Woodson won an NBA championship as an assistant coach. Which team was he with?
2003. That'd be the Heat.
The Detroit Pistons. Close. Working under Larry Brown. That's all right. That one's a little bit tougher. You said what, Scott?
I'm sorry. What's that?
Oh, sorry. You broke up there a little bit. So all good.
Okay.
All good. All right. During Mike Woodson's playing days at IU, Mike Woodson led the Hoosiers to a championship in 1979. It wasn't the NCAA tournament. Which tournament was it?
The NIT.
Yep, there you go. Chris, you would have gotten that one too.
Yeah. Well, next time.
All right. Three more for you, Scott.
All right.
Mike Woodson was a high-scoring machine at IU. Where does he currently rank on the school's all-time leading scorers list?
Give me third.
He's fifth. Third's a good guess, though. It's a good guess. All right, two more here. Which NBA team selected Mike Woodson with the 12th overall pick in the 1980 NBA draft?
The Kings?
The Knicks. He's got a thing for going back and coaching at the places that he played. All right, last one here for you, Scott, and then I'll have Chris grab your info so we can get those tickets over to you. Mike Woodson grew up in Indiana and attended which Indianapolis high school before heading to Bloomington?
Broad Ripple.
Broad Ripple High School. There you go. Great job. You set 7 for 9 there? That's pretty good.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks for calling in, Scott, and playing.
All right, thanks.
You got it. Hold on the line so Chris can grab that info for you. See, everybody, the trivia is not always insanely hard. You know,
I would have much rather done that instead of the Game 7 trivia the other day.
Yeah, what was it called? No, I'm not. You're good. Yeah. So yeah, the trivia is not always like super insane. So sometimes, we keep it a wee little bit easier than that. Tough year for Mike Woodson, having to go coach the freaking Kings. Like, that's absolutely brutal. Even if it's just in an assistant role, pretty tough stuff. But right now, or throughout the day, the Colts have been doing some various media day stuff. Cam Bynum spoke, said that, Hunter Wohler's camp last year was one of the best he had ever seen. Hunter Wohler is almost 100% cleared. He obviously missed all of last year with that foot injury. Josh Downs, he did a little bit of media today as well, talking about how, his brother got drafted, and the Colts are, I guess they're supposed to play the Cowboys this year. We'll see kind of, when they play them. So we'll have a matchup of the Downs brothers. Hunter Wohler talking a little bit about the starting strong safety role. It just, I don't know, man. I'm at a point with the Colts. I'm at a really similar place as everybody else where I don't even want to talk about them. I get it. They're the biggest thing in Indianapolis, so I have to. But, Josh Downs isn't going to say anything that makes me feel better or worse about this Colts team. There's nothing that could be said that raises my hope outside of breaking news. The Indianapolis Colts just traded for Myles Garrett or something like that. Something like that has to be said for me to actually have a little bit of hope in this team in terms of their ability to be a playoff team, because that's really what they're missing. They're missing one clear difference maker on either side of the football. Like, even if they added a truly elite wide receiver, I like Alec Pierce, good player, not a great one though. Go add someone who's truly elite, and then you'll see this Colts offense or this Colts team as a whole go to another level. Okay, like that's the reality of it. So I don't know. I just, Josh Downs, Hunter Wohler, and whoever else spoke today on behalf of the Colts, they're not going to say anything profound enough for me to be excited about everything that's going on there. So, we'll see what ends up happening with them. But again, it's just really hard to be excited. Like, they're not, oh man, there's videos of them hitting bags. Big stuff right there. Can't wait. Jalen Tuimoloau looking super explosive. Jeez, I just, again, unless they make some sort of big trade or they make some sort of like impressive move or some rookie becomes a stud right off the rip. I just don't see a path to this Colts team being all that fun and all that entertaining. I hope that changes. I really do. But until it does, I just, again, Josh Downs, Cam Bynum, and Hunter Roller aren't going to say anything that makes me stop in my tracks and go, man, I really believe in the Colts now. It's just not going to happen. So I would have more faith in Mike Woodson to win 2 tournament games than I would in the Colts to even make the playoffs this year. That's how I feel about them. Mike Woodson is more likely to get over the hump than the Colts are to make the playoffs this year. That's where we're at right now with this Colts team. And, none of that is really going to change until there's a new general manager and the Colts are finally bad enough to draft a game-changing player. It doesn't even have to be a quarterback. If they had a top 5 pick this year and they could have drafted Sonny Styles or, David Bailey or any one of those other highly touted edge rushing prospects, that would have led to, a little bit of excitement in terms of what the Colts could do this year. But that hasn't happened. This is a machine that goes 8-9 every single year. It's the most average machine ever. No one else notices it. It's just, 9-8. See you at 8-9 next year. It's going to be so much fun. So Colts, voluntary workouts are going on right now, and it's fine. I am significantly more excited for playoff games tonight. Timberwolves and Spurs is going to be a blast. No Joel Embiid tonight for the 76ers as they go on the road to take on the Knicks, being down 1-0. The Knicks are probably going to come out of the East, man. They look really good. The Pistons played well last night, but their offensive issues they're just getting harder and harder to hide. And right now they're playing against a bad defensive team in Cleveland, or not a bad defensive team, a lacking defensive team in Cleveland. And so I don't think this is the series where it really catches up with them. But, I mean, when they play against New York, who's going to have multiple good options to put on Cade, even though their series last year was really entertaining, I think that is where their winning runs dry. And then last night, you also had the Thunder just giving it to the Lakers. Not even close. Beating them by 18. I told you yesterday on the show to take them minus 15.5. They play again on Friday. And when we do our Brendan Sorsby bet of the week, or excuse me, they play again on Thursday. Gosh dang it. Our Brendan Sorsby bet of the week would have been to take the Thunder again. But, we can't do that because that's on Thursday. So Friday, we'll do that Brendan Sorsby bet of the week and so on. And in 3 minutes, we will do over the hump day, something that every college football program needs to have a chance to win a national title. We'll do that in 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, 1430 AM. No matter how you're tuning in, it is greatly, greatly appreciated, and it is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. I had some rain yesterday. Hopefully that doesn't come back again for a while. And because it's Wednesday, it means it's time for a little bit of Over the Hump Day here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo! Hump Day!
No, as a coach, I gotta get us over that hump. I gotta get them comfortable, knowing that you're gonna be in close games and you gotta make plays coming down the home stretch. I mean, in the tournament, we were right there. I just didn't get them over the hump, man. And that's something that I live with every day of my life. Because I truly believe that was the team to really make some noise and get to the finals, and I just couldn't get them over the hump.
Good old Mike Woodson, just not quite able to get anything over the hump, just getting stuck at the bottom there. Nice. First bell of the day. It's okay.
We're behaving ourselves today, aren't we?
For the most part, yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you're right. I've been pretty well behaved today. Let's change that. All right, over the hump day. So the college football world, they can expand that college football playoff all that they want to. They can put everyone in. But in this era of college sports, you're not winning a national title unless you got a bag man out there somewhere. Unless you got someone forking out the money to buy that roster that you need. Indiana football could have been stuck fighting to get over that hump last year. But someone stepped up. A famous, is he an alumni if he didn't graduate? A famous associate of Indiana stepped up. Mark Cuban revealed on some podcasts that I've never heard of that he is the one who gave the money that allowed for Indiana to bring Fernando Mendoza into their program and be their starting quarterback last year. Listen to this clip of Mark Cuban talking about that. We don't have it yet? Okay, that's fine. All right, he's basically, says pretty normal stuff. I think we got it now. Cool.
It all started really at the Notre Dame playoff game the year before when we were losing, and I was in the suite with the AD, Scott Dolson, and Pam went and we sucked, right? We were getting blown out from the beginning. First thing I said to Scott was, well, at least this year you're not having to look for another time-honored tradition at Indiana, always looking for a football coach. And so he's like, yeah, that's the positive. And then we started talking. He's like, we've got this quarterback that we really, really like that we think would be great. Just need a little bit more. I'm like, how much is a little bit? And so he told me, and I'm like, okay, we're on a roll. I'll put up the money to get this quarterback. I knew Fernando's brother, who already was on the team because he was a Heat fan and he would sit behind the Miami bench. And when I would come to go to Mavs Heat games, he was like, oh yeah, I go to IU and da-da-da-da-da. So we met. And so I'm like, okay, I'll put up the money and we can go get Fernando. And the rest is history.
How much did they need?
They needed enough.
What a nice way to tell somebody to F off and not ask that question again. Mark Cuban right there talking about how he gave up the money for Indiana to be able to go out and acquire Fernando Mendoza. Coaching, it's incredibly important in sports, always has been, always will be, especially in college football. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't have the right coach, you're not going to win anything. Coaching is like having a great architect. They can design a beautiful house and give you the blueprints for success. But blueprints don't buy the lumber and they don't pay the masons. Indiana had the plans, but Mark Cuban provided the construction loan that actually built a championship team in Bloomington. Without that cash, you're just standing on an empty lot with a really nice set of drawings. That's all that Indiana would have had. Fernando Mendoza was the heart and soul of that Indiana team last year. He was the best quarterback in the country, and I don't know if Indiana would have won a national title without him last year. Julian Sayin wasn't good against Miami or Indiana. Bryce Underwood struggled mightily for Michigan. Miami won with Carson Beck, not because of him, more so in spite of him whenever the game was in his hands in Miami. It was not pretty. Dante Moore had some nice moments, but really struggled against Indiana. Drew Aller was a mess last year. Fernando Mendoza was far and away the best quarterback in college football. It's why he won the Heisman. Everyone knows and understands the role that he played in Indiana winning a national championship last year. I don't think that they could have done it with any other quarterback. I think wherever Fernando Mendoza would have chosen to go, that is probably the team that would have won a national title. If he'd gone to Georgia, then Georgia probably wins the national title. Okay, then that's just the reality. I think that's just the reality of it. Georgia was good defensively by the end of the year. They just weren't good enough offensively. And obviously, if you bring in a guy like Fernando Mendoza, he raises your offensive floor and ceiling quite a bit. Okay, he is that big of a difference maker. And the only reason they got him is because Mark Cuban spent the money required. In the modern era of college sports, in the era of NIL and expansion, if you want to get over the hump, you have to have the boosters to pay for it. You have to have good coaching to be good in college sports, obviously, but it can only get you to the base of the hill. That's what we saw in year one of Coach Cignetti. They make the playoff. It's a big deal. They go on the road to Notre Dame. They get their doors blown off. They go on the road to Ohio State in the regular season. They get their doors blown off. They just didn't have the talent. They didn't have anybody bankrolling the best players in the country to come and play for them. His coaching, Coach Cignetti's, got Indiana into the playoff. But they weren't good enough to win it until Mark Cuban's Benjamins showed up and pushed them up and over the hill in the form of Fernando Mendoza. We used to talk about strength of schedule in college football. Now we talk about strength of ledger. Okay, you can have the best playbook in the world, but if your booster's checkbook is thin, then your trophy case is going to stay empty and you're going to struggle to get over the hump. So shout out to Mark Cuban for funding an Indiana national championship. And if you're a Purdue fan, then call up all those different engineering grads and get them to send a little bit of money your way. So I stumbled across this article on New York Times here on X, and I just, oh my gosh. So yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. I made the great call of making my wife's day. She loves Kendado's Tacos. Really good spot in Greenwood. Pretty sure there's a good spot downtown as well. And New York Times has this post up. It's from a long time ago, to be fair to them. But apparently they're saying that you should add green peas to your guacamole, followed by the words, trust us. I don't think I will. No way.
I like
Never.
peas.
Me too.
I don't know about in guacamole.
Not in guacamole. I like my guacamole the way that it is. Mainly avocados. That's more than enough green stuff for me. You know?
Hold the peas.
Yeah, hold the peas. Hold the peas. I don't know. I'm not big on that kind of stuff. Like, I eat everything plain. I'm weird and boring in that way. But I don't know. Do you add weird stuff to any of your food? Do you eat peanut butter sandwiches with your chili?
No.
Good.
Do you?
No, but this is a thing.
That's weird.
Amelia and I, this is either like right before we got married or we were dating or something like that. I think I made chili, she made chili, something like that happened. And she just very casually goes, like, do you eat your chili with a peanut butter sandwich? I was like, no. We have these things called Fritos. That's what I put in my chili.
Crackers, yeah.
Or crackers, whatever. No, I guess it's like some southern Indiana thing where people eat peanut butter sandwiches with their chili. 317-228-1430 if you'd like to comment on this.
That's pretty weird.
I agree.
Two things.
Those don't go together at all.
One, why is that story particularly in the New York Times? And two, why do our shows usually end on food?
Because everyone likes food.
You know, it's towards the end of the show when we start talking about food.
Dude, I'm hungry. That's probably part of what it is. Look, man, there's just certain things in this world that everybody absolutely loves. One of those things is food.
Yeah, this is true. And you were talking about mixing foods.
Yeah.
Probably not popular, but if you go to Wendy's, you know, some people will put their fries in their Frosty.
Yep.
But
not me, but yeah.
will put my nuggets in my Frosty.
You got to explain that.
Cold chocolate chicken is amazing.
That sounds terrible.
It's really good.
Don't put like I get the fries because you get like sweet with salty. Makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, especially the hot the spicy nuggets. You put those in your Frosty, whatever flavor that Frosty may be. Try it, dude. It's good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Don't judge me.
I learned this the other day. Made me feel way better about my diet. You know who's a big fan of Cracker Barrel and their pancakes? LeBron James.
Really?
LeBron James apparently loves Cracker Barrel pancakes.
Interesting.
I saw a clip of him talking about him. He said for breakfast, he's a big sweet and salty guy.
Okay.
So he's like omelet with pancakes.
Okay.
And I'm like, LeBron eating pancakes? I can look like that and eat pancakes. I want his workout regimen.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, I don't know, man. You'll find this interesting. I don't know if it's funny or not. I think it's funny. So this college that I went to, really, really small, and it was in a tiny town, and we had a Cracker Barrel about 10 minutes away. The owner of the Cracker Barrel was like, I think the best way to describe it is like that is the closest Cracker Barrel a Cracker Barrel will ever get to Hooters. Because the owner would like show, so there are two college campuses in this town, and the owner would just be like, you're an attractive 20-year-old. Do you want a job as a waitress? And so you'd show up, and it's just like two worlds colliding.
So your college Cracker Barrel was popping then, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely popping.
Very good.
Loved it. I mean, who doesn't like Cracker Barrel?
Right.
Country fried steak,
Yeah.
gravy, just good old Southern cooking. You know, I know that people in the Midwest don't like the South because we're better at football than you guys are. But I don't think anyone can deny there's nothing like good old Southern food, you know?
Can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Solid. I think they make their own syrup too.
What was it like?
Is that right?
I have no idea.
Okay.
What was it like living in Denver? Was everyone just like, here's some juice?
Living in Denver, I would not recommend living in Denver. If you want to visit Denver, amazing. Lots of mountains to look at. The views are beautiful, but everybody there seemed very entitled, right? Like if you come from the Midwest or you got that Southern hospitality thing, you have manners, right? You go out to Denver or the West Coast, people walk past you, nobody says excuse me, and they're very just kind of like rude. And you wouldn't expect that from a state that is legal, right?
Yeah.
You'd think everybody's laid back. No, complete opposite.
My favorite Denver story. So my dad used to go to Denver a lot. Not a lot, but he would go to Denver. And his favorite thing about Denver, he would tell my mom, is like the people in Denver really know how to drive. He's like, it's so impressive how good they are at driving. And my mom had never been. And so they end up going together for like a work thing. And they're driving around. And my dad is like, I don't know what happened. These people suck at driving now. It's amazing.
I would agree with that.
What changed? They legalized marijuana.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it changed.
I will say Colorado in general knows how to take care of their roads, though, like
That is
way better than Indiana. It would on a regular, it snows like 8 to 12 inches, right?
Yeah.
By the afternoon, it's mostly off the interstate. Like they have heaters on the street. It's insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like I wish our interstates looked like that after it snowed
Seriously.
2 inches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude,
So it's like,
but no, the road thing, just like running the Indy Mini, so many potholes. So many. They had to like put cones in them. So it's like, don't step here.
we're going to fill that eventually. Just walk around it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so I mean, just rough stuff. Let's get on that, Indianapolis.
Right.
So with that being said, people love coming here for sporting events, so they're doing something right. But all right, we'll probably talk about food and other random things.
Of course.
As the show continues. You're right. We do usually close the show talking about food. Part of that's just like it's the middle of May. I can only talk about the lottery and the Colts going 500 again in so many different ways.
This is true.
So,
I get it. No, that's fine. I like food. You like food. Our fans like food. Let's food it up.
That's right. Big fans of food. Hopefully you had a nice night. Hopefully you went out and got some Mexican yesterday for Cinco de Mayo. It was also Taco Tuesday. So, I mean, come on now. Kind of had to, right? But, all right. Over the Hump Day, always a lot of fun. We've got the NBA Draft Lottery coming up on Sunday. We will do our show's lottery when we come back in 3 minutes.
Let's be honest, summer's almost here, and it can make us a little more aware of our insecurities. If you're looking to feel more confident and comfortable in your own body, Indiana Medical Center is your solution. We specialize in non-invasive body sculpting, skin tightening, and advanced skincare treatments that deliver real results with no surgery or downtime. To help you look and feel your best this summer, we're giving you a special limited time offer. Starting Friday at 9 a.m., go to sweetdeals.com/Indianapolis to get any $399 treatment for only $149. That's right, just $149 to start seeing real changes in your body and skin. With 3 convenient locations in Carmel, Greenwood, and Bloomington, Indiana Medical Center is your destination for results-driven beauty and wellness. Spots are limited, so get them before they're gone. Friday at 9 a.m., go to sweetdeals.com/Indianapolis to grab your deal. Don't wait. Start your transformation today.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Ted Turner passing away today at the age of 87 years old. Former owner of the Braves, founded CNN and TBS, was the creator of the 24-hour news cycle. So his legend will live on for a very, very long time. That's got to be creating the 24-hour news cycle. Like, that's got to be up there with most important inventions ever, right? I mean, it's like that and the wheel.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you can put up there with
No,
it.
you're right. I can't argue that.
So,
yeah,
just insane stuff there. All right, enough of that. I was talking to Chris during the break. I was like, when people pass away, I don't really know what to say. It's like, what am I going to say about Ted Turner that you're not going to say about Ted Turner? So we'll move on from that to the NBA draft lottery. Every day leading up, or every show leading up to the lottery, we have a lottery of our own. We spin the wheel. Depending on what number kicks out, we do a take based off of that number. Let's spin that wheel, Chris.
music makes me smile every time.
It's good. It's fun.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Like whenever you complete a level on Mario Kart.
Yeah, that's good. It does. Yeah, that's good.
It's good music. I need that in the morning.
That's actually really fitting because whenever I complete a level on Mario Kart, there's usually like a 1 by my name. And today, we drew the number 1. So the way that these takes work, the Indiana Pacers, their lottery ball could come out anywhere between between the first overall pick and the 7th overall pick. So with the 7 shows leading up to the NBA draft lottery, we have a take for each number on a scale of 1 to 7. So when we drew the number 7, it was something that I liked on a scale of 1 to 7, a 7. And today we drew 1. So this is a thing that I absolutely despise, something that I absolutely hate, something that I think that everybody hates. And that's referees. They do a good job for the most part. But when they make a mistake, it's almost always at a pivotal point in the game. They never make a bad call in the first quarter. It's always late in the fourth quarter when the game is hanging in the balance and you're just like sitting there waiting on like some huge play. And it's like the ref either always swallows their whistle or they are way too excited to blow their whistle and make a call in the biggest spot. I posed this question earlier, 317-228-1430. If you have a good answer for it. What are some of the worst calls or no calls you've seen during your time watching sports? I brought up the no call when Reggie Miller shoves Michael Jordan. I know Pacer fans obviously love that play because they don't call it. Reggie Miller knocks down a 3, and they win that game. I brought up I guess it would have been 2019. I think that's around when it would have happened. The 2019 non-pass interference call between the Rams and the Saints, where the football is nowhere close to the Saints receiver, and that Rams safety just absolutely crushes the Saints receiver. Saints fans were so upset. They wanted to like protest the game and do all these things. And there's a clip of Jared Goff being like, yeah, that's not pass interference, which makes me laugh even more. So 317-228-1430 if you have an opinion on some of the worst calls you've ever seen. Someone mentioned Larry Johnson in 1999 getting fouled and basically being handed a 4-point play. We talked about the Dez Bryant, did he catch it? I forget what year that was, but that was probably like around 2011, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the Larry Johnson Phantom 4-point play. I mean, you can keep working through it. There's really a lot to choose from, and just the history of you have the Tuck rule in 2002. Can't believe that I forgot about that. That Saints no call did happen in 2019. Do you remember 2013? The Steelers were playing the Ravens, and the Steelers kicked the ball off. The Ravens returner is going to return it for a touchdown. Like, he is broken into the open field. He's leaving everybody in the dust. And then Mike Tomlin accidentally steps out onto the field in his way.
Yeah, I remember that.
No call.
No call.
1982, you had the snowplow game. The officials allowed a snowplow to clear a spot for a Patriots field goal, which ultimately decided the game against the Dolphins. So that's another interesting one. I don't think that they would let anybody do that now. You could probably like shovel out, a little bit of like a small space, but I don't know if they're just going to let you clear out an entire, like, that's kind of insane. What else is
If I remember correctly, there was some wild call in Peyton's last game here as a Colt too. It was in that playoff game against the Jets at Lucas Oil. It ended on a crazy field goal or something. I think there was some kind of crazy call there at the end because I was at that game. But yeah, that would definitely be one on the refs for sure.
Yep, that's one. You've got the Music City Miracle. There was definitely a forward pass.
Oh yeah.
You've got Frank Wycheck throwing it to Kevin Dyson. Clearly goes forward. They missed that. What else you got? The Tuck rule. Already mentioned that one.
Any game that Patrick Mahomes plays in.
Seriously, it's amazing. People complain about the calls that Patrick Mahomes gets, but every year when the Bills lose in the postseason, the NFL makes a rule to help the Bills the following year. It happens every year. The Des caught it in 2014. Jerome Bettis, coin flip call against the Lions on Thanksgiving. That's another iconic one. Yeah, it's just insane stuff. But referees are human and all that happy hoopla, so there's that. But we've got playoff games tonight that I know I'm excited about. I don't know if anybody else is. I'm sure that there's some out there. John chiming in saying 1972 Olympic men's basketball. The Russians screwed us. Isn't that what the Russians always do? I mean,
you don't need a ref for that. That's probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Danny Hurley head bumping the ref after the Mullen shot. Man, that was fine.
That wasn't a call.
Do anything malicious. Man, when people got upset about that, I was like, no, I wasn't on the air for that. But no, that was not a big deal.
Yeah, that was right before you came back.
Yeah, like what? You think Dan Hurley's like complaining to the ref after his player just hit the shot of the tournament? No, I mean, not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay.
Do you remember the replacement refs that the NFL had for a season or two? That was terrible.
That's on the verge of happening again. The referees went on strike that year, and they had all these all of these high school refs out there calling these games, and they were terrible. Oh man. I remember.
You remember? I remember. That's what happened to my head.
That's funny.
Montreal screw job at Survivor Series 97. I don't know if wrestling referees I don't know if that counts, but in that situation I could see that happening.
Okay. Fair enough. But yeah, it's just, Kings, Lakers in 2002 and so on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can point to. And so just an interesting thing, it's part of sports. It's part of sports. It's one of those really annoying things about sports. Yeah. Do we have any ideas for trivia tomorrow? How we're going to theme that?
Let's see. I mean, we could do
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yeah, we could prep for Mother's Day. I mean, I think the Grand Prix is in town this weekend as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So if or we could do some kind of Throwback Thursday trivia.
Let's do some sort of throwback Thursday trivia. Give us an excuse to play that sounder.
Fair enough.
The important things, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. All right. So tonight we've got more playoff games. Knicks, Sixers. I'm looking at Friday. Today's Wednesday. Yeah, Knicks, Sixers, game 2 tonight. No Joel Embiid. His hips and ankles are sore. Poor guy. Knicks are 10.5-point favorites in that one. And then at 9:30, hallelujah. ESPN has the games tonight. Never thought I would say that.
ESPN has the games tonight?
Yes. Hallelujah. Because NBC isn't going to ruin what should be the easiest production ever. Put the games 2.5 hours apart. That way I don't have to watch both on a split screen. Shout out ESPN, man. 76ers and Knicks is going to start at 7 p.m. Good. That's when it should start. Timberwolves Spurs is going to start at 9:30. Good. That's when it should start. I mean, come on, NBC. Let's get it figured out here a little bit, all right? You can delay, whenever you're gonna premiere the episode of The Hunting Party or, whatever it is. Very interesting show, by the way. Don't know if anyone's seen that. But anyway. So 76ers tonight without Joel Embiid. Look, I kind of like the way that the 76ers play without Embiid. They play at a faster pace. It's a lot more Tyrese Maxey. It's a lot more of him isolating on, Jalen Brunson. You're going to get more VJ Edgecombe in there as well. You get more Andre Drummond minutes, which isn't going to be a bad thing when you consider how well the Knicks rebound. So I don't think that they're totally screwed in this game. With that being said, I do think that the Knicks win, and they probably cover that 10.5-point spread as well. So 76ers and Knicks, give me the Knicks minus 10.5. They're just playing at such a high level right now. It's really impressive the way that they're able to go out. I mean, look, they've won their last 4 games by like 16, 21, 51, and then 39. I mean, they're just blowing teams out, and like they're playing better basketball than anyone else right now that's left in these playoffs. So got to put them, got to put some respect on their name, even though I don't like doing that at all. And then the late game tonight, Ayo Dosunmu is back from Minnesota. We're going to see Anthony Edwards probably play more than 25 minutes tonight. Maybe he starts. We'll see. Here's the thing, though. This is the thing that I'm paying the most attention to tonight in that Spurs and Timberwolves game. In game 1, Victor Wembanyama played 40 minutes, I believe. It's either 40 or 38. It's an even number. And I say that, 40, yeah. I say that, and you're like, that's a pretty normal amount of minutes for a superstar in a playoff game. It is. Here's the interesting part. That is the third most amount of minutes Victor Wembanyama has played in a game in his career. When you look at the regular season, Victor Wembanyama is playing around 30 minutes a night. Spurs were very cautious, didn't want him to get hurt or anything like that. So now you're watching him in these playoffs where the Minnesota Timberwolves are being incredibly physical with him, pushing him around, getting up underneath him, bumping him off of his spot, driving into him consistently. And he looked exhausted at the end of game 1. Absolutely exhausted. And that is the thing that I'm paying attention to tonight. How does Wemby look playing more minutes? How does he look playing more minutes than he's really played in his entire career? And it's not just that he's playing more minutes. It's that he's playing more minutes every other day. It's not like in round 1 where you play 40 minutes and then you've got 3 days off before your next game. Like they're going to play every other day in this series. The series is probably going to go 6 or 7 games. Does he have the stamina and the physical endurance to continue to play at a high level the longer this series goes? And how does he look deeper into games? That is the thing that I'm watching for in that game. Hard not to like the Spurs tonight. I'd be very surprised if Minnesota won not one but two road games to start the series. With that being said, this is a very experienced team. They're very well coached, and they are completely fearless. Completely fearless, which is a very nice thing to have in these playoff games. That's going to do it here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show, where we covered a lot of college football. We talked IU football. We talked a little bit of Colts, Pacers, as we get you ready for the lottery coming up on Sunday. What else did we talk about? We talked about food. We talked about putting green peas in guacamole and why you shouldn't do that. Very simple. It's disgusting. Yeah, we talked a little bit of NBA playoffs as well. We got a great show lined up for you tomorrow. We will give away more Holiday World tickets. We'll do some sort of Throwback Thursday theme tomorrow. Maybe we do it on like the Pacers playoff run last year because it was just so much fun. So we can do something like that, and it'll be a great time. So make sure you're tuned into the Real Jonathan Smith Show tomorrow, starting at noon. We will talk to you then. Have a nice day.